Hi, this is Mrs. Laverty here to talk to you about in-text citations. What are they and why do we use them? Well, one of the reasons why we use in-text citations is to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is the act of using another person's words or ideas without giving credit to that person. Now, for example, this is a definition from Webster's Dictionary, and it is copied directly from Webster's Dictionary, and without this parenthetical or in-text citation, you can consider that plagiarized. So I keep my in-text citations in order to avoid plagiarism, and also basically to give you a quick example of what an in-text citation looks like. Now, in-text citations are also known as parenthetical citations, and that's because they live in parentheses within your written work. They're used to give immediate credit to information that is not originally yours, and it is done in a way in those parentheses so as to not take away from the flow of your written text. It also links the text of your paper to the source in the works cited page. So why do we use them? We use them because it's ethical. We use them because it is unethical to try and pass along somebody else's work as your own. People work hard on their research and on their assignments and on their papers, and they would like to be given proper credit when their work and ideas are used. You also use parenthetical citations to give authority to your work. It shows that you have done due diligence and have researched and have evidence to support what you are stating in your papers. In-text citations are also used to help other researchers to find materials for their research as well. So, the big question is, why do students plagiarize? Well, one is unintentional. Most students I've run across in my career as a librarian and as a teacher, students unintentionally plagiarize. They don't know how or why they are citing. They don't know when to cite or how exactly to format citations. After this brief little tutorial, you should not run into this problem. You should know what types of materials to cite, and there are other resources to help teach you the proper format for an in-text citation. A lot of students plagiarize because they have desire for a really good grade, and they feel that other people's work are better than their own. In all honesty, there's a lot of junk out online, and I have seen many students copy and paste and plagiarize because of a desire for a good grade, and what they could have produced on their own would have been much better than what they found online. Lack of planning. Lack of planning is a huge problem when it comes to plagiarizing. Students tend to put off completing assignments until the last minute and are in a rush and forget to cite or feel like they don't have enough time to cite. Lack of organization is also a really big problem when it comes to plagiarizing, and that's because students get really good information from a variety of sources and then forget which source they got their information from and feel that they can just put any source and that will be fine, and that is not fine. So there are real consequences when it comes to plagiarizing. I'm starting off with some minor consequences, and even the minor ones are serious, especially if you are a serious student. So, one consequence of note in-text citations and plagiarizing is you get a failing grade for the assignment. Sometimes teachers may give you a second chance with a lower grade, but they can fail you, and in some instances do. Teachers can also choose to fail you for the class, for that marking period or that semester. They can determine that you have intentionally plagiarized, and that is cheating, and paramount, you get a failing grade in the class. You will, when found plagiarizing, receive demerits, and as you know, demerits can count against you in extracurricular activities. Now, A larger consequence now is when you get into college or universities, they will expel you if it is found that you have plagiarized an assignment. And basically, it's them telling you, thank you for your tuition donation. It was very interesting having you as a student, but you are no longer welcome back to our school. If you've gotten expelled from a college or university due to plagiarism, it is very difficult to get into another school because colleges and universities take academic integrity very seriously. There have also been cases of people losing their job because of plagiarism and taking credit for work that was not their own. Plagiarism has very real consequences. So here's where the unintentional plagiarism comes into play. Many students I come across believe that you only have to cite when you are using direct quotes. That's the question. Do I only have to cite when I'm quoting directly? So a direct quote. Here's an example of a direct quote from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. And you can see here this direct quote is in quotation marks. Your father left this in my possession before he died. It is time it was returned to you. Use it well. And this was in Rowling's book, The Sorcerer's Stone, on page 202. Yes, a direct quote needs a citation. But the question is, what about a paraphrase? Here is the same information paraphrased from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and it's Harry's invisibility cloak was given back to him by an unknown person. It would prove to be very valuable in his adventures. The question is, does this paraphrase, written in my own words, my own sentence structure, does it need a citation, or is it only when quoting? And it actually does need a citation. So here is my citation, Rowling, in parentheses, Rowling 202, close parentheses. So are citations only required when quoting? No, you must cite even when you're not using direct quotes. If the information isn't yours, cite it. So when do we cite? Quoting always. Quoting is identical to the original text. Quotations must be used and it must be cited. Paraphrasing is when you're taking the original text and putting it in your own words. You're using your own sentence structure, but they are not your ideas. They are someone else's ideas, so they must be cited. And summarizing. Summarizing is when you are taking the main ideas and putting them into your own words. You're pointing out the most important points, also must be cited. Paraphrasing can be the same length as the original material, as long as it's somebody else's ideas, must be cited. Summarizing is when you're taking a large amount of text and you're narrowing it down to a couple of key points, but also must be cited. So the question also comes up, what doesn't need citations? So common knowledge. Common knowledge is considered information that the average educated reader would accept as reliable without having to look it up. So here in the United States, for example, we know that George Washington was the first president of the United States. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and Romeo and Juliet was written by William Shakespeare. Original research does not have to be cited. Research you have conducted and are explaining in your paper. Mathematical facts also do not have to be cited. A squared times b squared equals c squared, or the area of a rectangle is length times width. However, what may be common knowledge in one culture, nation, academic discipline, or peer group may not be common knowledge in another. When in doubt, cite. A lot of times I've talked to students and they are concerned that their paper has too many citations. It is much better to be safe than sorry. You will not fail a class or an assignment for over-citation, but you will fail a class you will fail a class or an assignment for plagiarism for lack of citation. So here is a list of 4 things, and we're going to determine whether or not we need to cite or not to cite, whether it's a citation required or common knowledge. The first one is the volume of a rectangular prism is length times width times height. That is common knowledge, does not require a citation. Adele's album 21 is ranked the #1 selling album of all time. This does require a citation to back up that fact. Benjamin Franklin included plans for a library in his academy in 1740. This too requires a citation. And finally, Barack Obama is the first African American to be elected President of the United States. Here in the United States, that would be considered common knowledge. Please remember, like on the previous slide, that depending where you are, some knowledge might not be common. While Barack Obama being the President of the United States might be common knowledge, especially now because it's current. George Washington being the first President of the United States may not be common knowledge outside of the United States. So be aware of who your audience is. Here is an example of an in-text citations within a paper. So if you look here, you can see here the quote is introduced, the author is stated in the writing. The rolling states that your father left this in my possession before he died. It is time it was returned to you. Use it well. Because the author was in the writing itself, it did not need to be in the in-text citation, only the page number. And this direct quote here links back to this text. He turned to smile at the tabby, but it had gone. Instead, he was smiling at a rather severe-looking woman who was wearing square glasses exactly the shape of the markings the cat had around its eyes. This is a much longer quote, and it is block style so that it does not need quotation marks. Here is the in-text citation, and it too refers directly to this work in my works cited page. And finally here, this is an online article that does not have page numbers, so the author is only listed, no page numbers in that citation, and it refers to this work in my works cited page. Here is the works cited page for this PowerPoint presentation. You can see the works that I used in order to create it. Please note that it is much safer to cite than not to cite, and if you have any questions regarding in-text citations, feel free to ask your teacher or come to the library and ask me. I will be more than happy to assist you.